What's going on, people? Welcome to another Emotion Football live stream. My name is Alam, and today we are wrapping up the summer series. We are focusing on the last division left for us at this channel. We're looking at the NFC West, the division with the reigning Super Bowl champions. Very interesting division. Some say the best division in the NFL. I think the Cardinals kind of take away from that quite a bit. But we're going to give everybody an equal bit of a spotlight here. If you followed the series so far, you know what you get is not exactly like a prediction in terms of like, hey, we think this team is a 12-win team. We think this team is a playoff contender or not. A lot of stuff has to happen still that will determine whether a team wins 11 games or 13 or whether they're contenders or not. But I like to zoom out and just take a big picture look at like what changed, what do I like, what do I not like? If their season goes well, what will the reasons be? And if their season goes poorly, what would the reasons be? So with all that said, we're going to hop right into it. Before I get started, shout out to Jen Will, says Vamos España. Man, yeah, Spain. The people's champions won today because Argentina definitely made Spain the people's champions. What a miserable team to watch, Argentina. They're the best division, including the Cardinals. Didn't you know the Cardinals playing in the Kickoff Classic? That means they're the best. The Kickoff Classic is the Hall of Fame game? What is this? But yeah, great joke, General. Great joke. But yeah, if you're here, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel. We're going to kick it off with the Cardinals and an ad, I guess, on this website. But yeah, the Cardinals, a lot of changes here. Obviously, they have LaFleur as a coach. So they've interesting spot for the franchise to be in because they're in year 4 of a GM's tenure, but they're in year 1 of a coach's tenure. So as much as typically when a bad team gets a young head coach, it's essentially a rebuild. It's not really a rebuild with this set of circumstances. The Cardinals are going to try to be good. So you kind of have to look at this team and keep that in mind. When it comes to this squad, I think that there's a lot of issues here. And obviously, we talk about offense and then defense, but I think that without going into anything else, the most important thing to talk about is Jacoby Brissett, because Jacoby Brissett is seemingly holding out. And the thing is I do feel like as much as holdouts for the most part, people will talk about it like, oh, a veteran player is missing training camp, but they're veterans and they don't really need this. I don't know if Jacoby Brissett missing a big chunk of training camp, in the case that they resolve this, by the way, right? Obviously, if they don't resolve it, then they're fucked. But even if they resolve it, if Jacoby Brissett misses a ton of time when LaFleur is installing his offense, I think that'll be detrimental for them. And if the quarterback is bad, simply this just won't be a good, like this team doesn't have a chance at being okay. This team was guaranteed to be bad. So the backup quarterback options are Gardner Minshew and Carson Beck. Gardner Minshew off an ACL tear. Carson Beck, rookie 3rd-round pick that I don't have a ton of faith in. So I say this all to say, the Cardinals are almost guaranteed to be bad, in my opinion, unless they get Jacoby Brissett under a new contract before training camp. And that deadline is coming up very soon, people. I think the Cardinals report within the next week. So I think they have about 7 days to figure this out. Which is a pretty dramatic thing to say about one player, but that's how important the quarterback position is in the NFL. Now, let's zoom out, right? LaFleur is a coach who belongs in that tree of Shanahan, McVay, that a lot of the NFL currently runs iterations of. He spent a decent amount of time under McVay, in McVay's staff. Was it McVay or Shanahan? One of them. But point is, also LaFleur's brother, the coach of the Packers. So we kind of have a feel for what this offense is going to be like. And with these offenses, like the coordination of everything is important. Like it's not simply just the players you have on the field and them running the plays and playing well. Like these systems require everyone to be on the same page. So year 1 of this offense to me could have some troubles just due to the fact that it's year 1, right? But when we look at the talent around the quarterback, I like Jeremiah Love a lot. I like Trey McBride a lot. And as far as receivers go, considering that I'm a Marvin Harrison Jr. supporter still, like I still think he'll be good. Michael Wilson and Marvin Harrison Jr. as, mind you, the 2 receivers in an offense with a great running back and a great tight end, I actually think their skill position players are sick. Like, I think this is an awesome supporting cast for a quarterback. However, it might not look awesome for a few reasons. One, again, it's year 1 in a very, this is a system. Like, this is not like a system that has a whole lot of, like, freedom or space for improvisation. Like, this is a very highly coordinated system that they're going to be running, and the learning curve might make them not look as good. The quarterbacks might make them not look as good, but also the offensive line might do that as well. So the big issue for Arizona, in my opinion, is I feel like their ground game dropped off a cliff when they lost Clayton Adams to the Cowboys. He was their offensive line coach / run game coordinator. And if you remember the random years that James Conner was kind of a functional running back in Arizona that people kind of didn't see coming given how things ended in Pittsburgh, he's the reason why that happened. And once he left, I do think the running game didn't quite look as good. So obviously, you know, there was an issue with the last coaching staff with him not being on the staff last year. With a new coaching staff, I don't know if they'll be able to figure that out. But as far as the personnel goes, I don't like the right side of the line. Paris Johnson is good. Seumalo is a steady guard that they got from Pittsburgh. Froholt is a steady center, right? But at right guard, basically, Isaiah Adams was bad last year. Elijah Wilkinson, Eli Udo, like, I don't know if there's a starting caliber player here at right tackle. And then Chase Basantis, that there's a chance he's a good starter year one as a rookie, but you're relying on a rookie second round pick. And again, at the guard spot, the second round pick is where you get elite players. But there's a chance Basantis isn't, you know, a good player right away. So there's the right side of the line that I don't necessarily believe in. Although Basantis could be amazing, like, I'm acknowledging that there's the possibility that that's the case, but I think they're going to be struggling at right tackle regardless. In these schemes, you don't always see teams having the best personnel along the offensive line. So look at some of the dominant Niners offenses that frankly just didn't have like 5 good linemen. They were supporting some bad offensive linemen. Look how far the Rams have gotten with players like Bo Limmer occasionally starting games for them. This system can support not the best offensive linemen, but again, in the event that the system isn't working to its best level because we're year one in it, because the quarterback might not be playing, there's a chance that this offensive line really gives them some issues. So again, I see a scenario where Chase Basantis is really good and the coach is a genius, and Jacoby Brissett is in training camp the entire time, and this could actually be okay. But that is things going absolutely perfectly and like every checkbox that's required being hit. The likelihood is this offense is not going to be good, which is a shame considering that I love the skill position players. So that's how I feel about the offense. I think all things considered, I would expect the offense to be better than last year, considering that we had half a year wasted before Jacoby Brissett started playing. And again, we're going from defensive head coach to an offensive head coach. However, the bar was pretty low last year until Jacoby Brissett started playing, and there's a chance again that he's not playing this year. So with all those factors in mind, I expect the offense to be a little bit better, but that's a pretty low bar. Can't wait to watch Larry Fitzgerald. Over under Love, 700 rushing yards. I think he'll get the over just because I think they'll feed it to him so much. I don't know how much you believe these things, but the reports out of Arizona suggest that the owner really wanted Jeremiah Love to be the draft pick because he thought he would sell jerseys. So with that being the case, bro, like, I think there's a good chance he just gets force-fed the ball to 700 yards. Shout out to Jared. Jared, I don't know if you want to hop on or not, but I actually have to give my dad a ride to the airport like in a bit, so I'm gonna speed through this stream a little bit. It's just gonna be me holding it down. Okay, defensive side of the ball. This is where you look at things and things are a little bit scary here. So I'm just gonna confirm that I don't have the Cardinals defensive coordinator mixed up. Coordinator. Okay, it is Nick Rallis. Okay, so this is what I was going to say. Nick Rallis got retained as the defensive coordinator. He was the defensive coordinator for them last year, and I think he was the defensive coordinator the entirety of the time that Gannon was the coach, but obviously he was the defensive coordinator on a coaching staff with a defensive head coach, so he wasn't the lead defensive mind, and now he is. So remarkably, there's actually a lot of continuity on this side of the ball. The problem is I don't think that's a good thing because this defense wasn't a good defense. And if you look at what they've added, they have not added much. The one player that they've added that's a starter according to this is Roy Lopez, a functional nose tackle, right? Everybody else they've added are backups, and the only draft pick they've drafted that's anything better than a third stringer is Caleb Proctor, a 4th-round pick defensive tackle, right? So this defense did not get better on paper. They didn't change much when it comes to the coaching staff. And the talent is not as good. You have to look at this defense and think about where young players could potentially grow, right? Walter Nolan is somebody that could take some strides. There's another player. Oh, Will Johnson at corner. Taylor Demerson at safety. But yeah, no, definitely congrats, Spain. Yo, Peter, so I actually have to give my dad a ride to the airport pretty soon, so I'm just going to speed through this one on my own. I'll be streaming at some point midweek or like maybe the end of the week, but we're gonna have to run through this one pretty quickly. Also, speaking of running, run the likes up and the subs up, people, while you guys are here. Yeah, I gotta get. I'm gonna get out of here in like 20 minutes, probably. But yeah, appreciate it. It would be some sicko behavior. Can you imagine like me losing track of time streaming and then my dad misses his flight? We're gonna make sure that doesn't happen. But yeah, no, Cardinals defense guaranteed to be horrible, I think, considering that, again, continuity at the wrong spots, not many additions. The defense won't be good. Offense, if they can't get Jacoby Brissett into training camp to learn this new offense, I think that they could have a hard time offensively, considering that like quarterback and offensive line are the weaknesses of this offense. All things considered, I don't think this is a good team. I don't think things will go well. But in the best case scenario that everything goes right, there's still going to be a team that's like good offense, bad defense. The defense has no hope. Cardinals will probably be similar to the Giants last year, to where they only won like 4 games due to their very hard schedule. This is true. The schedule is not working for them. Who do you have winning the division? We'll get into that later. Probably the Rams, though. Man, disappeared last. But this is true. Brock Purdy fan did go hiding last year in the playoffs until the very last game. But yeah, Cardinals, that's where we're at. Next team we're going to look at is the Rams, I think. Yes, the Rams, next team alphabetically on this website. Okay, Rams, pretty interesting offseason. Again, if you look at the added players, they didn't really add anybody offensively except for fucking Ty Simpson. But the key thing is they only endured 1 loss. Like, they lost their right tackle to retirement. Seemingly haven't added anybody proven. They have a 3rd-round pick from the draft who's going to be a rookie, but then their backup Warren McClendon is who they're starting, who was a 5th-round pick 4 years ago or 3 years ago. So yeah, they have a question mark at right tackle, but outside of that, you're looking at a pretty functional offense from last year coming back in its entirety. Literally every single starter is back except right tackle. So what to expect from this offense? More the same. Barring teams adjusting to how they play football, you're going to look at more of the same. Something that I find is interesting about this offense is they actually improvised last year. Last year, they ran 3 tight end sets, by far more than anyone in the NFL, like damn near more than everyone combined. Like, not exactly that, but it wasn't that far off. And that was improvised from the fact that they didn't really have depth at receiver, right? So they had Puka, Devontae Adams, and then essentially nobody else that they trusted. So given that they had 2 receivers, and obviously one is old, so you kind of have to manage his snaps, they ran a lot of 3 tight end sets. What I find fascinating is that they did not fix that. Like, they are coming in with no additions to the receiver room except for a 6th-round pick. And at the tight end spot, right, the tight end room that sustained 3 tight end sets with Parkinson, Higbee, Terrence Allen, they drafted another tight end in the 2nd round. So they actually got deeper at tight end. I think they found something that they really liked last year. They bought into it, and they're going to continue doing it. My issue is, given that was a very new thing in the NFL, is that something that gets adjusted to in the league, right? Defenses essentially had this sprung on them, a team that's going 3 tight end sets, even in in unconventional times to do it. So like in obvious passing situations. Now that the novelty of it isn't quite the same and defenses have a summer to look at what they do, can they sustain the same production? Like, under no circumstances are they going to be bad, but are they going to be just as good? And the other thing to consider there is that, like, they don't have a pivot from it, right? Because again, they doubled down on the strategy. They got better at tight end and did not get better at receiver. So it'll just be interesting to see. But that's the only talking point about the offense. For the most part, you should expect a good offense. And then on defense, a defense that, again, was for the most part a good defense, right? Not elite by any means, but a good defense. It got significantly better from the standpoint that they got Trent McDuffie from Kansas City. They got Jalen Watson from Kansas City. So they have two corners that have, both of them have won 2 Super Bowls, I believe. I think both of them were on the team that beat the Eagles, right? So you had 2 corners that are from, obviously one is much better than the other, but 2 cornerbacks that are very experienced. And then you add Myles Garrett to this defense. So this defense should be good. They still have the same coaching setup. They still have Chris Shula as the defensive coordinator. No, like on paper, this is the best team in the NFL. This is a team that, appreciate you. I almost forgot this. This is a defense that could add Aaron Donald on top of all of this. And this is a defense that I could see terrorizing a lot of teams. The thing you have to consider is that Myles Garrett has always played in a setup where the offense is ass and he's playing from behind, which means that he's facing a lot of running plays, not getting to rush the quarterback too much. This player is now going to be playing with a lead a lot. Man, I have a hard time poking holes on this team. The biggest thing going against the Rams is outside of right tackle is just the fact that usually in football, the team that's supposed to win it all doesn't. Like when there's a hands down favorite, it tends to not happen. Something could go down. Again, I don't think, even in the case that the right tackle is ass, I don't see that like completely derailing the Rams season or making them not contenders. The thing that could throw their season off is if something happens to Matt Stafford, who's pushing 40 at this point. So that's the thing to watch. But if things are okay with Stafford, I expect this team to still be really good. Again, even if the league adapts to 3 tight end sets, they should still be a really good team. The matter is just, the issue is just, are they going to be like super duper elite or just very good? But this team is going to be damn good. And I'm pretty sure that I'm going to end up picking them to be like the 1 seed in the NFC. So the next team we're going to look at is, I think San Fran. Yeah, San Fran comes up before Seattle. So the Niners, shout out to, wait, what the hell? I thought this was alphabetical. Anyways, Seattle is next, I guess. So we're going to look at Seattle. The biggest change for me, again, is there is some turnover here, but the biggest change for me is the fact that they lost Kubiak and they replaced him with the Niners tight ends coach. So they hired Brian Fleury. And I think the main purpose here is that you wanted to hire somebody from the Shanahan coaching tree. But like the issue for me is that tight ends coaches, in my experience of being a football fan, tend not to be like high level play callers. You just don't see it often. That's not really a position that lends itself to creating great play, play designers and play callers. You just don't see that often. So my issue for Seattle is it's not about personnel. They should have a pretty good team on paper, but I think that there's potential for a serious drop off in offensive coaching. And I think offensive coaching was a big part of what they did last year, because ask the most diehard Seattle Seahawks fan, they'll tell you that Anthony Bradford is ass. Jalen Sandell is like a steady player, right? I like Gray Zabel a lot. The 2 tackles are fine, but there's a serious chance. And Brock P fan, this is a great time to bring this up. Please let this be another KP situation. And I can speak on this as an Eagles fan because the Eagles have had this happen to them 3 times now. Hold on. Well, yeah, 3 times in total, because the first time we won a Super Bowl against the Patriots, we lost Frank Reich that offseason to the Colts. And when you lose your offensive coordinator, such a key figure in your coaching staff that late, like after the Super Bowl, you're picking from coaches that essentially don't have jobs or are going to be receiving a promotion, because coaching staffs are already filled out. The teams that fired their coaches, they've already assembled their coaching staffs, and the best coaches have had their choice of teams and have made their selection, right? So we lost a great offensive coordinator because of timing and had no choice but to promote internally. And the next year, the offense was ass. Because at the end of the day, the guy who got promoted internally just wasn't ready. He would have never been an offensive coordinator if not for these desperate circumstances. It happened again when we lost Shane Steichen, when we lost to the Chiefs in the Super Bowl, right? We lost a coach after the Super Bowl. We had no choice but to promote internally. And somebody that realistically would have never been an offensive coordinator was, and we suffered. And then it happened for a third time, as Brock brought up here. We lost Kellen Moore, had to promote internally because it was late, and our offensive coordinator sucked. With Seattle, there is potential for the same thing to happen. They almost, by the way, did the same thing, promoting. There's a guy with a last name starting with J. I forget his name. That was in the Seattle staff. They almost promoted him internally. However, Kubiak had to set up a coaching staff as well in Las Vegas, and he took him to Las Vegas. So they made the external hire, hiring Brian Fleury from the Niners, their tight ends coach. But let me be honest with you, like Brian Fleury would have never been under consideration to be an offensive coordinator at any point. And if you follow this channel, you know I do a lot of like coaching, hiring and firing streams where we just talk about the whole situation. And I had a few charts about the different teams that interviewed with different candidates. Brian Fleury got not one interview to be offensive coordinator. So again, there's a serious chance that there could be a drop off in offensive coaching. And like, I'm not saying this to suggest that Sam Darnold is ass or anything, but Sam Darnold, part of his performance was the fact that he was in a well-schemed offense. And I don't think he'll all of a sudden fall off a cliff, but there could be regression in his production if he's in a worse setup offensively. Their ability to hide Anthony Bradford and Sundell is probably not going to be the same if the coaching is bad, right? I like their offensive trio at receiver. I like their tight ends for the most part, like they're good functional players. And I think Jadarian Price and Zach Charbonnet should be able to do a lot of what happened in the ground game last year. But again, that all might be for naught if you're seeing a drop off in coaching, because the receivers can't bail out an offense if there's now suddenly issues at quarterback and offensive line because of the coaching drop off, right? Running backs have to run within a scheme behind a line. If there's a drop off there because of the coaching, it impacts them as well. So this is just something where I would like, again, I'm an Eagles fan. If you haven't been able to tell, I've experienced this 3 times. I think Seahawks wide receiver core is just JSN and friends. I mean, the thing is like, I get what you're saying, because I don't think Rashid Shaheed is obviously a receiver that could thrive in like every setup. So it's like if you drop him on the Browns right now, is he going to cook? Probably not. Cooper Kupp, he's old as hell. If you drop him on the give me a team on the Raiders, I don't think he's going to cook right now. But to be honest, I think given this offense in this setup, I think they do their jobs. So like, you're right. It is kind of just JSN and friends, but JSN and friends the production ends up being damn good. But you're right. Like I could hear it. If the offensive scheme drops off quite a bit, I wouldn't expect Rashid Shaheed and Cooper Kupp to have amazing years or anything. So again, there's serious potential for drop off everywhere offensively. And again, like I was mentioning earlier, I'm an Eagles fan. I've experienced this 3 times. This is something to watch for them. On the defensive side of things, obviously they lost some players. They lost Boye Mafe. They lost Kobe Bryant. There's probably some others that I'm missing off the top of my head. Their main additions look to be young players and Dante Fowler. So Dante Fowler is the Boye Mafe replacement. That's a downgrade. But that being said, it's still a depth piece for them because the Seahawks rotated their edge rushers like hell. So DeMarcus Lawrence, Uchenna Nwosu, Derek Hall, all productive players for them last year. They're all going to be productive again. But yeah, it's just like there's going to be a slight drop off from Mafe to Fowler. Defensive tackles look good. This is the player I was missing. He went to the Eagles, oddly enough. Should have remembered that one. With Kobe Bryant, they replaced Kobe Bryant essentially with Bud Clark, 2nd round pick. And then they replaced Tariq Woolen with Julian Neal. So the thing is, like, the chances are that Julian Neal, a 3rd round pick, is probably not going to be Tariq Woolen year 1 as a rookie. The chances are Bud Clark is probably not going to be Kobe Bryant year 1 as a rookie. There's no chance I think that Dante Fowler is going to be Boye Mafe, right? I think but with the rookies, sometimes rookies hit the ground running. I think the chances are pretty low. So, I mean, I think that there's guaranteed to be a bit of a step back in terms of personnel, But the Seahawks defense was amazing last year, and the coaching is still going to be really solid. So I don't expect this to derail their defense. Like if their defense goes from like 9.5 out of 10 to 9 out of 10, they still have a pretty good defense. But the issue is that like it's just going to feel different if the offense is now not that good and they have to pitch a shutout and they give up 17. Like if they give up, I'll put it this way. If they looked at every football game, like if we give up 17 points, we win because the offense is going to score more than 17 points. So if that's the standard, they can hit that almost weekly and you're going to leave feeling like, oh, what a good defense. If the standard is different now where we have to hold teams to 13 because the offense is taking a step back, that might be a harder standard to live up to. And you might find the defense, I guess, just not having the same impact. But yeah, like you have to think about it, right? If their offense takes a step back, right? They almost lost to the Colts last year. I mean, that's a situation where there's always for every team, right? But games against the Rams, there were always really close games. The Seahawks did win some close games. If they're all of a sudden not a 1 seed, because of like a couple games here and there, that really impacts how things go for them in the playoffs. So there is a serious potential for a Seahawks step back. I don't expect them to win the division. The thing is the NFC, if you're not a great team, like there's probably going to be a handful of teams that are in contention for playoff spots. There's no way the Seahawks are going to drop off all of a sudden to not being a playoff team, I don't think. They'll have a fair shot at making the playoffs, and I think that they still have a good enough team to do it. But at the end of the day, that happened to the Eagles the 2 years after they lost their coaches, and it still ended up being really bad, right? So when they lost Steichen and they had Brian Johnson, they still made the playoffs, but they got smacked by the Bucs. Then last year when we had Kevin Patullo, we still made the playoffs, but we lost to the Niners, and honestly, a Niners team that was super banged up. Like that was not a good team to lose to. So I mean, I could expect the Seahawks if they don't have as good of an offense with Brian Fleury, I could expect them to still make the playoffs and lose in the wild card round. Again, this team has a lot of Philadelphia stuff going on right now. So I'm going to keep my eye out for that one. Last team we're going to look at is, congrats on breaking the bank for Rodgers. That's the equivalent of Cat's contract. Interesting. Yeah, that here's the thing. That move's a weird move. It's fun to just like pop Arsenal's chain like that. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. Like, I hate the market so much, man. I hate the market so much in the Premier League. But yeah, Niners, last team. So the key changes here. Defense. Okay, just before I say anything, defensively, they lost Robert Saleh, but they got Raheem Morris. Like that's a crazy. The thing about the Niners is they keep a great defensive coach. Outside of that 1 year where they had a random guy like Robert Saleh, DeMeco Ryans, Raheem Morris now, they keep good defensive coordinators in this setup. And it's a big part of what they do. But yeah, you have Raheem Morris and Kyle Shanahan. You have pretty solid coaching on both sides of the ball. So that's just like a foundation for where they're at in terms of coaching. When it comes to the personnel side of things, they got better at receiver because they got Mike Evans, Christian Kirk, and Dejon Stribling. So a lot of people don't like the Stribling pick. The thing is, even if he's not good, let's say he's not good as a rookie or not good, period, you know what you're getting with Mike Evans and Christian Kirk. Now, a part of knowing what you're getting with Mike Evans is knowing that he's going to be injured. At his best, he was an injured player that would play through injuries. As of late, he's been a player that misses time due to injuries. I want to say if you take his injury luck and you take the Niners injury luck and you put it together, that's an injury sandwich. So if I was betting on Mike Evans, I would bet unders, not because he's not a good football player, because he's Mike Evans. He's a Hall of Famer. But bro, like, come on, he's going to miss games this year, and a lot of them. If he stays healthy, I'll hold my hands up. It is what it is. But my assumption is that this is going to go wrong. So Mike Evans, he's a good player. This scheme gets good production out of good players. I just think he's going to miss time. Christian Kirk, a very safe player. Like, you know what you're getting with Christian Kirk. Not going to be a superstar. But I do think that they needed reliable vets because at the end of the day, they were betting on young receivers that just weren't panning out. Ricky Pearsall, they need more from him. but you can't be pinning your offense on your hopes for Ricky Pearsall's growth. They got some floor raisers at receiver that I think should give them competence, right? On the offensive side of the ball, same. I'm pretty sure this is the same starting five outside of Connor Kobe. Brock P. Fan, you can tell me if this is a backup from last year. Who was the starter at left guard? I think they lost somebody in free agency. But yeah, you can let me know. Thing about the Niners offensive line is I say this every year. Every year I look at them and I'm like, hey, I kind of think that they start some guys that are ass, but it kind of doesn't matter because this scheme, when it's ticking, is really good at getting by with not the best offensive linemen. So I'm not even going to look at this line and be like, hey, this, some of these guys suck. Okay, yes. See, I knew they lost somebody. So again, under normal circumstances, you heard what I said about the Rams. I would look at it and I'd be like, hey, maybe Connor Kobe sucks. And maybe that's going to hurt them. But to be honest, like it kind of just depends on how the offense is ticking as a whole. If Shanahan has these guys going, they'll be fine with Connor Kobe. And if the setup isn't working that well, then Connor Kobe probably gets exposed. So that's very much a Shanahan, Purdy, like the good players are going to decide how this works. But offensive line is just a typical Niners offensive line. I don't love the personnel, but they're just going to find a way to produce. When you look at the tight end spot, they didn't really add much behind George Kittle, who tore his Achilles in January. But it fucking seems like he's on a good track to be relatively healthy towards the end of the year. So they're probably feeling pretty good about George Kittle. At the end of the day, Kittle has been old for a while. I don't necessarily think his production stems from being like an elite athlete. Like, I'm assuming he's going to be fine eventually. I don't know if he's going to be fine immediately, but I think he'll be fine eventually. If he misses the beginning of the season, they have Tongas and Farrell, who played a lot of snaps for them last year. So again, you saw a lot of what life could be like without Kittle. Whenever he would miss time, because they didn't add anybody. But yeah, so as Brock P fan said here, Tongas was the guy who played a lot last year. And then if you look at quarterback, running back, a lot of the same from last year. They add Kalen Black from Indiana. So obviously he's a productive player, ran behind a good line in a good scheme. If he has to play, he'll probably do a similar thing. But I mean, as with a lot of years with the Niners, this is just going to come down to injury. This organization has some of the strangest injury luck I've ever seen. They have a whole like controversy about the power plant near their practice facility, but this is going to be a damn good offense if they're healthy, and probably not if they're not healthy, right? Because the thing with Brock Purdy is if the system around him is broken, like, do you expect him to take a bunch of shitty receivers or a bad offensive line to a Super Bowl? No. But if you give him a good setup, right, he's been to a Super Bowl already, like, he'll win the games. So, I mean, again, my thing with Brock Purdy is, like, I'm not the biggest fan. I don't think he's, like, an elite quarterback or anything. But, like, it would be hard to say that he can't get the job done. He has a bunch of playoff wins under his belt. There's not much to say about the Niners that's any different from their typical situation as an organization. Shanahan's a good coach. They have some pretty solid skill position players, and we'll just see if they stay healthy. On the defensive side of the ball, I think is where the conversation is a little bit more interesting, because again, they have a good defensive coordinator. What I would say is that they have a pretty different defensive coordinator. I believe Raheem Morris is more of a 3-4 kind of a coach. And I think his system is distinctly different from Robert Saleh, in my opinion, because whenever you see Robert Saleh go to an organization, he gets rid of the 3-4 players. Like, he's fucking 4-3 to the death of him. Like, he very strongly, some defenses are hybrids, not his. He got to Tennessee and got Tavondre Sweat out of there immediately. But so it'll be interesting to see how things function with Raheem Morris. What I will say is that Raheem Morris has been a good defensive coach for a long time. This is stemming back to when he was the head coach of the Bucs, when he was one of the youngest head coaches in the NFL. This guy I trust him to figure it out. I would just want to put out there, if there's a bit of an adjustment period between him and the personnel, don't be surprised or hold that against them. I feel pretty confident that Raheem Morris will have he will have the adjustments made by the end of the year. My only real question with the Niners defensively is personnel, because while this team has got better in certain spots, their defensive line, while it was injured, was not productive at all last year. And the only changes they've made are adding Osa Odigizua and a 4th-round pick. And I guess Romello Height, they say he's a 3rd stringer. He's going to find the field, because I don't necessarily know who this guy is. Maybe he played a lot last year. But Keon White, I don't expect serious things from. Michael Williams, second year as a player in the NFL, 1st-round pick. I think he missed a good amount of time last year. There's a chance he develops and turns into a really great player. What I will say, though, is literally as the fan of a team with a lot of Georgia defensive linemen tend not to be ready to play a lot of snaps in the NFL early, because their defense usually has like wave after wave after wave of talent. So they never really have to play a lot of snaps anyways. And it took time in the NFL for Jordan Davis to be a player that plays a lot of snaps. Nolan Smith and Jalen Carter kind of still aren't players that are built to play a lot of snaps. Mikael Williams, even if he's really, really, really good, I don't think he's going to be a person that eats up a lot of snaps. And that's impactful on a defense where the depth could be an issue, because while Nick Bosa is amazing, Nick Bosa keeps an injury on him. This is just the way of the world with the Niners, right? So if he's in games that he's not playing, I don't love Keon White. I don't love this guy. Romello Height, 3rd-round pick, right? It's a 3rd-round pick. He might be good, but the chances are, as a rookie, 3rd-round picks tend not to be like difference makers, right? If Mikael Williams is kind of like your only difference maker, that's a problem. Again, I'm saying this as a fan of a team that has a bunch of Georgia defensive linemen. Osa Odigizua by the way, Upton Stout, I thought he was pretty good last year. I don't necessarily know if he could break out, considering that I don't think he was bad last year. Osa's a quality player, man. Osa, him being in Dallas, I thought was going to be a pretty big problem once they got the other 2 linemen, Kenny Clark and Quinnen Williams. Thank God they traded him. But no, he's a damn good player. This defensive tackle room was not good last year. Like, they're hoping for breakouts from Alfred Collins and CJ West, but they did not do enough last year. And again, with his defensive tackle room, Osa Odigizua is the one player I like. So this is my thing about this defensive line group. As good as Raheem Morris is, this personnel has to prove me wrong. So the 2 rookies from last year have to play better. But yeah, we have to get this. They have to get like the best case scenario at this part of the field. But yeah, it's that's a bit of a concern for me. At linebacker, Dre Greenlaw, people in Denver talk about him like he's cooked. I don't necessarily know if that's the case or not. I did not watch enough Denver to see. They talked about him like he's cooked. The thing is, bro, they even like Fred Warner, he'll be fine. He's like amazing. He'll be fine. Tatum Bethune played last year. He played good. Nick Martin, I'm not sure about. Luke Gifford I think he's like a solid backup from Tennessee. So at linebacker, again, I just think they'll figure it out. Even if it's not Dre Greenlaw, it'll be Tatum Bethune. They'll be fine at linebacker. In the secondary, Jack Jones from Miami. Okay, here's the thing. Jack Jones is a good football player. He had a rough stint. I forget where it was, but he had a lot of off-the-field stuff going on. I think he got arrested at the airport with a gun. He's a good football player. He played well in Miami last year, I think. Now, if I'm wrong, it's because he may have been a stat chaser and gone for interceptions, and there might be deficiencies in the rest of his game. But he's not bad at playing football, I don't think. Ashton Davis, I think he might be cooked. Nate Hobbs, solid slot corner, but again, Upton Stout's better, so I don't think he'll really impact things. Lenore and Renardo Green, like the secondary has a lot of young talent people might not know the names of, because you're looking at 2024 draft pick, 2023, 2024, 2025. Diamador Lenore is a known quantity at this point, but a lot of young talent here. The depth is solid again with Jack Jones, Nate Hobbs. I think this should be a good secondary. But the issue is like, if I like the linebackers and I like the secondary, but I don't love the defensive line, that's a problem. So this is the thing to watch with their defense. I have no issues with coaching or personnel except from defensive line depth. That could be what lets their defense down. Again, this is an injury-prone franchise. If Nick Bosa's out, you can't expect your defense to cover for 6 seconds, right? Osa, they're leaning heavily on 3 guys: Osa, Nick Bosa, Mikael Williams. They're leaning heavily on 3 players, and I have an injury concern with Nick Bosa. I have can he play a lot of snaps concern with Mikael Williams. So this is just a situation where when it comes to the Niners, what I think could let their team down is the defensive line. Now, if there's anything we know about the Niners is that they are a pretty aggressive team. So if they are like a couple pieces away from being contenders, they'll probably make a trade midseason for a defensive lineman. But I think what makes them not as good as the Rams, as far as like contenders, if all things go well, is the defensive line room. That's about it. So again, I like the Niners for the most part. I don't think that they'll be shit or anything. They tend to alternate being great and being okay. And I think they just had their okay year. So yeah, I expect the Niners to be good. If I had to pick things right now, I have them over the Seahawks. So yeah, my order for this division would be Rams, Niners, Seahawks, and Cardinals. So yeah, we got through the 4 teams. What I'm going to quickly do is, because I have to go soon, I'm going to quickly rip through the teams for predictions. This is going to be super quick. And we do have a lot of the predictions already done. So for the Rams, they're currently set at 9-1. I'm going to split the matchup against the Niners. I'm going to have them sweeping the Cardinals. I think they beat Green Bay. I mean, I think they beat a lot of teams here. And then I'll have Rams splitting with the Seahawks as well. So we got the Rams at 14-3, which I think is definitely doable for them. Looking at the Seahawks now, we have them winning a bunch of games. I think that's a lot of that is off reputation of just like how we expect things to happen. I'll have them splitting. Ooh, I think the Bears sneak that. Niners take this one. What did we work out? We worked out 13-4. Okay, this is definitely something I'm going to revisit. This is because here's the thing. Like, I just feel like when other teams are predicted against Seattle, there's a lot of reputation stuff going on there. I'm going to do a new season prediction probably this time next week. This will change. But as of right now, 13-4 for Seattle. But if you just heard what I talked about with them, I definitely see some issues. Currently, Niners 10-5. But we're going to have them sweeping because I think the Cardinals is the only result that we haven't picked. We're going to have them sweeping the Cardinals to put them at 12-5. And then the Cardinals, they're 0-16 right now. Who do we not pick them against? The Lions? Fuck. Okay, as of right now, I got to pick the Lions. But we'll go back and we'll find a win for the Cardinals. They're not going 0-17. But I think when you're predicting another team and you see the Cardinals on the schedule, that's an easy W. So, damn, this is definitely going to change. But bro, I don't. This is what we were talking about, bro. Like, Brock, you were saying this is the best division in football, bro. The Cardinals are a serious problem for me, a serious problem. But yeah, these predictions are all going to change. We worked this out going week by week. For each division. This division got reset. We still had to go. I still had to go back and finish it. Actually, the Vikings finished 8-9. You know what? I can just finish this off in a couple minutes. Who did we not? Oh, it's probably divisional stuff. Oh, I'm calling splits between all these teams, dude. I don't know if they're far enough this early in the season for me to like predict how things are gonna work. So that has the Packers 12-5. And then these teams, are they all going to be 12-5? Yeah, fucking 3 12-5 teams. Yeah. NFC has the best top 3 teams. That's a more fair argument for sure. I think you definitely would have that. But yeah, shout out to everybody in here. Hit the like button, subscribe to the channel. If you like this content, that's the best way to support it. And if you like this content specifically, you can go back. I have a playlist set up. You can check out the season previews I've done for every division. So that's how I've spent the last 2 months, every Sunday night, streaming about a different division and talking about, again, what I like, what I don't like, and how I see things. But yeah, if you want to support the channel, likes, subscriptions, comments, any type of engagement is what helps. We're wrapped up here, and with training camp starting up for the rest of the way, what I'm probably going to do is I'm going to do one season prediction for the rest of the way. And then I'll probably do a couple preseason streams where like I'll pick a night where there's a bunch of games and I'll just go live and we'll flip through the games, see what good players are playing, blah, 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 right? We'll do that as well. And then the other thing I'll be doing is like random training camp update streams. So I'll probably just go live for a couple hours, go through the internet, see about reports, progress reports, see what people are saying is the big news out of each training camp, what teams look good, what teams don't look good, blah, blah, blah. So that's how we're going to spend the rest of the way until September, and then watch along once the regular season starts. So hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and we'll see you guys around. I'm out.